It is so good to be with all of you. While I'm talking, please make yourselves comfortable. Grab a warm drink, a snack, some fuzzy socks, a scarf if you're freezing like me. I am just so glad to be together with you. And I'm going to also throw this out there as a possibility as we're like getting ourselves situated. I know that not all of us are super comfortable singing anywhere outside of the shower or the privacy of our cars. But just in case you may be so moved in the course of tonight's gathering, maybe think about finding a spot to situate yourself where you would be comfortable, in theory, singing. Okay, just put that out there. I'm Ariella Markowitz, the founding director of SVIVAH. We have beautiful, wonderful new faces here tonight, and I am so glad that you found your way here. Please stay till the end to introduce yourself. I would love to meet you and know you, and I promise not to run off right away at the end. 30 seconds about SVIVAH. SVIVAH is all about putting women at the center, discovering and exploring the unique and beautiful Torah that comes from our lived experience. Our goal is always to learn with and from each other and to do all of this within a community of care. We define both Jewish and women very broadly. If you want to be with us, we want you with us and welcome. We love that we are multi-generational and diverse in our backgrounds and affiliations, and we come together in celebration and support of women, our strengths, our unique perspectives, and our ways of impacting the world. Thank you, Jordan Rosensky, SVIVAH's Director of Community, and Rabbanit Aliza Davis, our Director of Pastoral Education, for your insight and wisdom in bringing us together tonight. And to the wonderful Sarah Beth Neville, I don't know if you're here, I hope you are, but we're giving you a shout out anyway, who offered us deep insight and connections in the song circle world. I will never, ever look at singing the same way again because of your gorgeous thoughtfulness. Thank you to the Aviv and Covenant Foundations for believing in the beautiful ways that we come together to learn with and from each other. An enormous thank you to Blanca Schunever, a sponsor of tonight's gathering, as an aliyah for the neshama of her dear mom, Esther Bat Blanca, Zichrona Levarcha. Esther loved to sing, as does Blanca, and we are so grateful to feel your mom's presence here with us tonight. Thank you so much. And if you might be interested in sponsoring an upcoming program in honor or memory of someone dear to you, please reach out at any time. We love learning about the people who are important to you, and we are so grateful when you share them with us. Before I hand off to Aliza, I want to acknowledge that yesterday was Holocaust Remembrance Day. I know that many of us have loved ones who we've lost and loved ones who have survived and may or may not still be with us, but they are and will always be so much a part of who we are today. In keeping with connection to our gathering now, I was named for a grandfather that I never met, but I know that one of his things, I've heard many stories, one of his things was a deep love of chazanas. He loved to listen to recordings of famous cantors and left a huge collection of records that I used to flip through as a kid, just filled with all kinds of prayers being chanted, and it was strange and wonderful to me. But I'm really excited to hear more from one of our wonderful teachers, in particular, Chana Raskin, tonight, because her teaching offered me some real insight into my namesake and why this might have been something so important to him. And I will always cherish memories of my grandmother singing me to sleep with Yiddish lullabies. So tonight I am calling them both in here to be with us, Leon and Esther Mortkowitz, and I would love for all of you to share in the chat the name of someone whose memory we should honor tonight. I need to thank Rabbanit Aliza Sperling for a million things, but today for intuiting and just knowing that diving deep into song would be exactly right. Aliza is SVIVAH's Director of Education and the wise and thoughtful one who brings our beautiful educators together and brings us into the richest, deepest conversations with each other. Aliza, you really teach us how to learn from each other. And that is such a gift. Thank you, especially for doing it tonight at 3 a.m. from Jerusalem. Dedication to your teaching is an absolute understatement. But seriously, in our many, many conversations these past weeks, I can't tell you how many times this week, last week, I have found myself saying, I'm just at a complete loss for words about everything that is happening in the world around us. Um, so I am here fully and gratefully with an open, grateful, and seeking heart. Thank you for reminding us that Kisha Ein Milim, when there are no words, there are still ways to express what's in our hearts. And I am grateful to be able to explore them together with you tonight. So thank you so much, Aliza.
Thank you, Ariella, and it's so wonderful to be here with all of you. It is, yes, 3:10 a.m. here in Jerusalem, and so you're gonna have to be patient with me, and I might not find the right words, but I'm going to try very hard. I am so happy to be here with you. When I woke up from my short nap that I just had, I woke up and I was just eager to get up and learn from these amazing teachers and musicians, Chana and Galeet. Thank you so much for all that you've taught us in the past week, couple of weeks. It's been so beautiful and such a balm to the soul, really, especially in these very difficult uh, weeks. I also want to thank Ariella, of course, for being the heart and soul and everything of SVIVAH, who thinks about each person in this room so deeply and with so much care. And of course, to Jordan and to and to Rabbanit Dalia, thank you so much. And to Sarah Beth Neville, thank you. You are the reason that we are all gathered here today. So thank you for your very wise words and for introducing us to the idea of a singing practice, which I had just never really heard of before. So thank you. Before we get started, I want to open up and ask everyone to write in the chat. Um, Learning together and being in this room together is brings great merit to the world. And I'm going to ask you if you'd like to offer a kavanah, to offer an intention of something that you would like this learning to be in the merit of. It could be for someone who is ill. It could be for someone who is having a happy event. It could be for something that is happening in the world. Let's have our gathering tonight and our singing tonight be in the merit of much good and healing and love and repair and peace in the world. So if you'd like to add your specific kavanah in the chat, please do so. All right, as you do that, um, tonight we are gathering to learn about song because this Shabbat we read the parsha, the Torah portion of Bishalach, in which we have the Song of the Sea. After the Israelites cross the sea, first Moses leads everyone in a song, and then Miriam leads everyone in a song. And we wanted to understand a little bit more at a deeper level. Well, what is song? And what does it really do? What's the spiritual meaning of song? So I want to offer a short piece of learning. And after that, I'm going to turn it over so that we can hear from our incredible teachers, Chana Raskin and Dr. Galeet Dardashti. So I'm going to share with you my screen. Just 1 minute. Here it is. Okay. Minute. Okay, here we go. All right, can you see my source sheet? Yes, okay, great. So I want to begin with a beautiful midrash, with a beautiful rabbinic explanation. And it's about these first words, then Moses sang. And they say, another matter, then Moses sang. That is what is written. She opens her mouth with wisdom and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. That I guess the Midrash is taking this idea of opening one's mouth and something being on your tongue, right? And wisdom and teaching of kindness is on her tongue, and connecting that, as we know from Eshet Chayil, the that we sing on Friday nights, um, connecting that to the song that was sung at the sea. And they say, from the day that the Holy One who is blessed created the world until Israel stood at the sea, we do not find a person who sang a song to the Holy One who is blessed other than Israel. God created Adam, the first man, and he did not recite song. God rescued Abraham from the fiery furnace and from the kings, and he did not recite song. Likewise, God rescued Isaac from the knife, and he did not recite song. Likewise, God rescued Jacob from the angel, from Esau, and from the residents of Shechem, and he did not recite song. When Israel came to the sea and it was split for them, they immediately sang a song before the Holy One who is blessed. As it is stated, then Moses and the children of Israel sang. And then the Midrash says, that is, she opened her mouth with wisdom. In other words, nobody else ever sang a song for God in the Torah until this moment after the splitting of the sea, when the people of Israel start to sing, and that is wisdom. The Holy One, blessed be He, oh, I didn't change it. The Holy One who is blessed said, I have been waiting for people such as these to recite song. So I found this midrash to be so interesting. I have been waiting for people to recite song because it wasn't so intuitive to me. It's interesting to note that in the rest of the Torah, when great things happen to people, until now we have not seen them open up and sing a song. But I was thinking, like if you're at a, I don't know, baseball game and somebody hits the game-winning home run, right? Like everybody immediately, like it's your instinct that everybody gets up and like there's a roar of the crowd, right? Like there's this beautiful song that comes out. So to me, it kind of sounds like, isn't it intuitive? Isn't it just like a natural thing that if something good happens, that you respond with song? What was so wise about the fact that the people responded with song? And I'm going to offer an answer tonight, but um, I really, I feel like I really won't have a better understanding until I hear from Chana and Galeet what they are teaching us, and there are deeper understandings of song. But I'm going to offer one piece right now. So I'm going to share my screen again so that we can look at the next source. And these two next sources I thought were pretty mind-blowing because I had always thought that what happened in the Song of the Sea is that the people crossed over. There was a miracle. They went through dry land, they got to the other side. Then they looked back, they saw the Egyptians, and then the Egyptians were drowned. And then they felt this complete redemption, and then they sang the song. But actually, Rabbeinu Bachya and the Ramban Nachmanides both say that that was not the sequence of events. Instead, for instance, let's read Rabbeinu Bachya. Um, it's trying to understand how the Torah text is working, and it says that the introduction to the song is, and then Moses started to sing. And then the end of the song, after the song, it says, then Moses and the children of Israel sang, when Paro, his cavalry, and its riders went into the sea. And it says, take the opening and the closing of the song, and that will tell you when they sing the song. So it says, the Torah now goes back to the beginning of the Shira, of the song, as if the opening line had read, then Moses and the children of Israel sang a song when Pharaoh, his cavalry, and its riders went into the sea, and God brought the waters of the sea upon them, whereas the Israelites walked on dry ground. The verse teaches that the Israelites sang the song while still crossing. That's the important line. The Israelites did not sing the song at the end of the story when they looked back and they said, wow, what an amazing complete redemption. Instead, as they're walking in the fear in the terror, knowing that the Egyptians are right behind them, at that point, they decide to sing the song. And Nachmanides says the same thing. Thus, the verse relates that they said the song while they were walking in the midst of the sea on dry land. Scripture further tells that it was then that Miriam the prophetess took the timbrel in hand and sang them the first verse of the song that they should sing after Moses and Israel. So, what's happening, what these commentaries are telling us, is that it wasn't one of those things where you have this great redemption, and of course, it's natural you're going to sing. The wisdom of the people at that time was that they were in the middle of it, right? I think that's something that's very relatable to us, right? Whatever we're in the middle of right now, the middle of something personal, the middle of things that are happening in our countries, right? It's very hard at this moment to feel like I can sing a song now. To be able to sing in the middle is something completely, completely different. And that is the model that we have for us of the Song of the Sea. So I'm taking that with me as something that I'm hoping is going to hold me and hold us as we go through and walk through the dry land, but see the Egyptians behind us in many aspects of our lives. And I want to add one more thing, and this is something that I learned from Chana from our discussion last week, actually, Chana, when you were talking about song and you were talking about what does song look like and how does it happen? And you were talking about the way that we have to take our voice and our breath and we have to move it through our body and bring it out. And I was thinking that as the people are singing their song and moving through the dry land, God is also blowing air, right? The verses tell us that God is blowing air in order to open up the sea so that the people can come through. And then God is blowing air so that the water will drown the Egyptians. And I was thinking that this really sounds to me like Hannah's description of song. And I was thinking that the people are singing, but maybe God, in some way, this action of like opening up the water and blowing the water out and then blowing the water in is also song, so that the people and God are almost like singing to each other in some way. So, anyway, all of this is a way to say that I'm so excited to learn from Chana and from Galeet tonight. And I'm so excited to be here. And this is why I kind of jumped out of, well, I slept on the couch, so I wouldn't disturb anybody. I jumped out of the couch, and so I could be here today. Um, all right. So I want to first introduce Chana Raskin, and you are going to see in the chat, you will see Chana's bio. Uh, Chana is the founder and facilitator of RAZA. She grew up entrenched in the world of Chabad Chassidut and its stirringly complex melodies. These nigunim have carried her at every point on her journey. Her debut album, Capella, was released by Rising Song Records in February 2023, and she has concerts and leads circles to diverse communities around the world. Chana also works with people using music to help them recover from illness or traumatic injury or simply seeking home. Um, Ariella and I have had deep, gorgeous conversations with Chana. She's now one of my very favorite people. And whenever I say that to people who know Chana, they say, oh, yeah, she's my favorite person too. So we're so happy to have you here with us. Thank you. So, Chana, can you start off and tell us about how you got into this, who you are, where you come from?
Hello. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me in and for everything that you shared. I mean, I'll answer your question, but I just will say that the visual, when you were sharing what I had shared about like allowing breath to pass through us, well, not allow, you said that we need to move breath through us. And I was like, oh no, I had never thought of it that way. Because for me, it's always like I need to allow the breath to pass through me. like to come through. And then when he started describing that visual of the breath, the wind, right, at the sea, I was like, that's the feeling. You know, like before you, I was like, that's that feeling of just like leaning on the breath inside of me, but also outside of me to allow for song to pour forth from me. Yeah, I think I'll sing, even just for like 30 seconds, just to like, does that sound all right? Okay. And everybody is muted, but hopefully you are somewhere where you'll feel comfortable making any sort of sound, and we'll sing this melody again in just a little bit, and I'll like guide us more in it. But for now, anything that arises, just you're welcome to close your eyes and be. So, what did you ask them? What is my name and what is the work that I do? So, my name is Chana, and I grew up in the Chabad world, born and bred in Brooklyn, in the Hasidic court of the late Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson. And sacred melody, like this one, this is the introduction of a niggun. Niggun means sacred melody or melody. Niggun was just it was just like in my life. It's like I feel like I grew up in a bath of it, usually surrounded by many Hasidim.
Hannah,
you all able to hear me?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think
Yeah.
some people are having trouble hearing.
Hard time hearing me. Okay, let's see. If that makes a difference. And also I can speak up. Is that better? Yay. Okay. Yeah. I basically grew up surrounded by men singing. My father sang, took us to shul, where I would be with him surrounded by many hundreds and sometimes thousands of men singing. And a number of years ago, I actually think it was tonight it's 7 years. We had one, maybe I think the first or second circle in Jerusalem, in Yerushalayim, where it sort of just so happened I started to sing. I started to teach these nigunim to circles of women. I myself at that time was deep in recovery from a traumatic brain injury. It's about to be 12 years for me. And so music and sound and singing and humming has just been a real part of that journey. And so this was a very natural, obvious thing. What more can I say?
We've had some conversations, and I feel like you told a story to me about a woman who you met who didn't know how to sing, and it was quite a dramatic story that it made me realize that I don't really know what I'm doing when I sing either. I feel this need sometimes to go to, synagogue services or to hear certain music or to sing, but I don't know what that's about. Can you explain what that's about? And you've said like we need to sing. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Okay. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear. If you can hear me. Or yeah, okay, folks are able to hear me. Somebody make loud noise if you can't hear me because I'm not gonna pay so much attention to the chat, but hopefully. Okay. Um, so there's a really so I'm also very curious about song and sound. And I want to share a very precious, dear to my heart teaching from the sixth Chabad Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, and it's actually the anniversary of his passing, his yahrzeit today. And he shared that there are different kinds of words, okay? And words are meant to reveal, right? I have something in me and I want to share it with you. And so I share it. But what happens when I share something with you? I have to sort of take this in my desire to share like the essence of something. I extrapolate it and I like sort of draw out all these words. And in an effort to bring you close to the essence, I sort of limit the essence. Does that make sense? So on some level, it's like the direction is coming downwards. He calls those words of descent. Okay, so I have this like beautiful, deep, ethereal, moving feeling, and I want to share it. So I have to sort of like do this to it, and in the hopes that you can get it and do something with it. But then there's another kind of word, and those are the words of song. And what happens there is that you have this feeling or this idea, this essence, and you want to share it. And so you use words of song, and the direction is upwards. Because through words of song, it's like the essence itself is able to express without diminishing herself. And almost like the essence herself can dance her way and express her way out even more than I had felt her, and can make her way to you without being touched. It stays pure. And he calls those words of ascent. Okay? And the founder of Chabad, the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Schneur Zalman, he is famously quoted to have said that if words are the pen of the heart, right? Like what we were just saying, that words are the way that we speak what's on our heart, then nigunim, sacred melody, is the pen of the soul. And he also famously taught that every one of us has a piece of the divine inside of us, that we all have a soul. And I remember, even though I had grown up like knowing this, it's like one of those things, it's like Aleph Bet, it's like learning the ABCs. I remember when it sort of dawned on me, because for me it was just a visceral feeling. It was like in my journey over the past many years, like have felt that voice and sound is just so critical. But suddenly I was like, oh, of course everybody has to sing. If we owe it to our soul to learn her language. And if her language is song, then how could I get in the way of that? Or how could I not spend time sweeping away whatever's keeping her from singing, Yeah, and we had talked a little bit about this, and something that comes up is that I really want to make a disclaimer for the word singing, even though we're going to throw it around a lot. I noticed especially once I started teaching this music, so like I like the word songstress. I saw it used some like in one of your, and I'd never thought of that word. And I'm like, oh, I like that. It's like holder of song, because for myself growing up, and also for a lot of people who I've connected with, like singing is very heavy. It's like there's like connotations with like performance and entertainment and talent and artistry, but like in a fancy way, And so that is not, and that's gorgeous. I mean, like, that's amazing. But that's actually not what I'm talking about. And that is, if with permission, I mean, like, that is not my understanding of what these Hasidic teachers are talking about. They are talking about soul speak. And if you have a body that is housing a soul, then you must learn soul speak too.
Wow. So, can you help us understand this? Can you give us an example of what you mean by that? Like something that a person might want to express, and that you might be able to express it. I don't want to say better because that's judgment, but you might be able to express it in a different way through song.
Hmm. I don't know. I hear what you're asking. I think that I think it's just it's a different language, like comparing languages it's not really so helpful for me. I use my words all the time. And also, I've heard Ariella say a few times, like, en milim, there are no words. I have no words, And I find that a lot. Or like my voice is just stuck. It's stuck in my throat. Like I can't, right? And so of course there's this beautiful language called silence. And I think that silence and song have the same source. They're they're intimately related. But I guess it's almost like if you're very frustrated and I can tell you, like, give me a sentence about why you're frustrated or just make a sound, like, like, how could you can't translate that, right? And so I feel like there's time and there's time. Like there's time for different kinds of sound. But when I'm talking about singing, I'm talking about um, learning, um, taking the time to quiet enough to listen if there's anything that wants to come out. We talked a little bit about like working, like healing, like how we do healing work with music, right? And specifically for me with these nigunim. And so I guess I'll share a little bit about that. So first of all, a lot of people don't know that, like, that humming and sounding and singing, chanting in any sort of a like tone, it stimulates our vagus nerve, which is what then like helps our nervous system, specifically helps our parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of our nervous system that calms us down and actually gets us out of like a trauma state. And so on a purely physiological level, it's like a great idea to get over the fact that you're not a singer and start to calm your body down or like find your agency. It's extraordinary to actually think about the Yidden, the Jewish people leaving, like walking through the sea, and just as a modality of like marching to, like you said, like with the fear, right? And so it's like such a natural, like if we're in tune with our natural healing powers, like it makes so much sense that somebody who is a leader would be like, let's go, like let's take this amazing tool that we have, like sing after me, like chant with me, like move and make noise so that you're calm enough to gather all of whatever your sheep and your children and whatever you have with you crossing the sea, yeah, so I feel like it's really just a tool that lives in us, that we're born with.
I love that idea, and I love the idea of the song not necessarily being like a song of joy. It's really just an expression of what's in your soul at the moment. And it's so beautiful the way what comes out of you also calms you, like what's in your soul and what you can bring out of your soul can also bring you some sense of solace or calm. Can you take us through a nigun and help us with that?
Yeah, I want to. We have time for that, a few minutes. Yeah, what I want to say actually is that it can be like a sound of solace, right? But it's very important to remember that it doesn't need to be beautiful or anything. It doesn't need to be joyous or somber or any particular emotion, because there's a rainbow of emotion. And the whole concept is to meet your soul and your niggin in this moment, which is why you'll never sing like when I sort of came to understand that nigunim, like the sacred melody, the treasure trove of nigunim that came, that I was lucky to grow up with, is that they're alive, they're living. And so what I need to do is just invite them here and meet them and invite them into my body, as wind, like what you were saying, right? As a breath of life, and see what comes out. And sometimes it's like, and sometimes it's something else, and yeah, we can talk more about that. But so this nigun that we'll sing for just a few minutes, it has many parts, and the point here right now is not really going to be to learn a nigun so that you can then go ahead and sing it. It's much more about just having the experience in our bodies of what it means to meet a nigun and see what arises inside of us. So I really want to encourage everybody to make some sort of sound when we sing. There are a few sections, and we'll just sort of repeat each one a few times, and don't worry about it. The point really is to like listen inside. I might change keys. I do that because of all the reasons we just talked about, just to listen like, oh, that's resonant. Oh, that's stuck. Oh, weird, interesting. Okay, I will say that this nigun is from the third Chabad Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, Rabbi Menachem Mendel, and he lost his mother at a very young age, before he turned 3. And he was raised by his grandfather, the Alter Rebbe, the founder of Chabad Hasidus. And he composed some extraordinary melodies. And this is a nigun. The name of it is called Nigun Hishtatchus, or Nigun Hishtatchut. And Hishtatchut means to prostrate oneself. And it's said that he actually, I don't know if it was that he composed this melody or that he would sing this melody lying on the grave of his mother. And so thinking about meeting ourselves in whatever tender emotion, specifically working through like quite a bit of grief and despair, and that's a lot of what I've been feeling and receiving around me, just a certain sense of like, what are we to do? It felt like a special nigun to bring, to do this practice. So I'll invite you to just be comfortable and mostly feel your sit bones, and see that your upper body is free to move, and maybe even move it. Just gently invite yourself to sway. Maybe take a nice breath, specifically like exhaling, like yeah. That's the whole part of this melody. And just feel where it sits in your belly. And this section ends with a little like sentence that goes the second section starts to move a little bit. And then it returns to that little sentence. The third section. There's almost a searching that happens in it. And the last section, so usually each section is repeated, and then if there are 4 sections or 3, we always return to the start. So we'll do this the 4th section, sort of, wow, I'll share something. This nigunim really asks us to, it touches, it goes down low to the ground and also reaches upward like a flame. But it always asks us to return down to the ground. And when I feel like the ground of my voice, like, right? Or even lower, like, So I just want to invite you to feel that, and sometimes like to feel the discomfort of it. There's so much exquisite teaching about why does song in Hasidic tradition do that? Like, why does it return down to the ground even after it sort of sings upward? And so we'll sing upward and then we'll come back. So sing with me, even if not these notes, just sing out and high and reaching.
Wow. Thank you. Um, I now really understand what you meant when you said that that song can go to a place that words just restrict. Um, wow, thank you. And I want to invite anyone who wants to reflect in the chat about what that was like for them, to write it in the chat. Um, Hannah, this was so beautiful, and I have so much more I want to ask you. But maybe we'll wait until the end and then we'll come back. But thank you for that beautiful gift.
Yeah, yeah, it's right. It's like little tiny tidbits. Um, it's tidbits of sound.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think I was telling you before that um, my, I, like I'll have these Shabbat plans and I'll say, I'm going to this place on Shabbat so I can go to this shul so I can see people. And then for some reason, my legs lead me to this other place where they just sing and sing and sing. And I think you've given me a way to understand what's happening, the way that my soul is kind of leading my feet there.
Mm.
Um, and I so appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to come back at the end, but thank you for this. Um, I have the honor of introducing Dr. Galeet Dardashti, who is from a very different musical tradition. So we are going to have here with us like two very different one. Hannah's coming from the Ashkenazic Chabad tradition, and Galit has a very different tradition that she's bringing for us. Dr. Galeet Dardashti is a trailblazing musician and an anthropologist of Middle Eastern Jewish culture. She has held professor positions at NYU, JTS, and fellowships at Penn and Rutgers. She co-created this wonderful podcast that you should listen to called The Nightingale of Iran about her family's Persian musical legacy. And you can read the rest of her bio in the chat. Galit, we're so happy to have you with us. And I wanted to ask you, can you introduce yourself to us, perhaps with some words, but also with some music?
Um, well, I think I'll save the music for later. But first, I just want to say that Hannah, that was just beautiful, and it's just so great to finally hear Hannah singing. I've heard so much about her. That was extremely moving, and I'm just really honored to be here with you tonight. So let's see. So, what brought me to this work? So, that's a great question. I come from a very musical family in Iran, and my grandfather was a huge star. Are you hearing some sort of interference, or it sounds okay to you? Oh, okay, good. So just on my end, I don't know what I'm hearing. Um, so my grandfather was a huge star, and in Iran in the 1950s and 60s, he was known as the Nightingale of Iran. And he was really adored by Muslims throughout the country. It was sort of must see, must hear radio, I guess you could call it. And oh, you do hear feedback occasionally. Okay, I'll see what I can do about that. It just sort of started happening. I don't know why. But anyway, I created a podcast actually with my sister called The Nightingale of Iran. And it tells the story of my family, and also brings up the fact that actually I didn't grow up with any Persian Jewish background at all. And in fact, my Iranian father, who was a teen idol in Iran, eventually made his way to the United States when he was about 19, and he actually became this Iranian guy. He became an Ashkenazi cantor. So I learned to sing Persian music much later, and it was definitely a choice I made like when I was like in my late 20s and really into my early 30s. And it was not something I was born into. So that's kind of what brought me to this work, I think, is that I didn't grow up with it.
It's such an amazing story. So, what made it so important to you? Like, why is it so important to you to sing these songs and to um, in your own voice?
Yeah, so I performed with my family growing up. So we have always performed together as the Dardashti family, or a dash of Dardashti. And we sang, yeah, I know, I couldn't make that up. And we sang mostly Western, both Jewish and non Jewish songs. And we sang at Jewish places, we sang at, family camps, all different kinds of places. And I didn't really have a sense of my Persian identity at all, really, until I went to Israel my junior year. And I studied at Hebrew University, and that's when I started understanding more about the history of Mizrahim, of Jews from the Middle East and North Africa. And I kind of realized like the history of marginalization, for instance, in Israel. And I kind of wondered, what was the story of my grandparents who, in my grandfather, the Nightingale of Iran, actually immigrated to Israel in the 1960s, really at the height of his fame. And my father, who was a teen idol, left Iran in even earlier, in the earlier 1960s. So it was kind of a mystery, and I was wondering, like, what happened to my grandfather and my grandmother when they immigrated to Israel. So I started wanting, after my junior year of college in Israel, I wanted to know more, and eventually I went to grad school and became an anthropologist. Now, while I was in grad school, I started a band called Divan, which is my all-female group that sings Sephardi Mizrahi music. And so I actually could start with Sephardi Mizrahi music because we sang like a couple songs like Dror Yikra and Quando Re Nimrod, songs that like people knew, right? And that we would sing. But I want to say that when I went to do my field work in Israel, that's when my research was on Middle Eastern music in Israel, and kind of this new wave of young people who were wanting to learn Middle Eastern music. Many of them, like me, didn't have such a strong identity of their Middle Eastern roots, in part because of the history of Israel. Some of them, didn't really want to hear Middle Eastern music because Israel became such an Ashkenazi country. Anyway, I was studying these young people, and so I figured, I need to learn to sing Persian classical music myself. And Chana talking about people learning how to use their voice, when we talked about it also yesterday, reminded me of kind of, even though I grew up singing and was always comfortable as a singer, I went to study Persian classical music. And I had to actually learn what it was. Like, this was like a new voice that I had to discover. And so I'll just tell you, because you're going to hear me singing a little bit of Persian classical music, which is a completely different kind of, a different totally kind of singing. And where you have these, it's a very specific Persian classical music where you have like, this kind of trilling that you have in Persian classical singing. And I was like, there is no no frigging way that I'm ever going to be able to have those sounds come out of my body, right? Like, I don't even understand what that is. And so I really had to, I had to kind of learn what it was to have these sounds come out of my voice. I didn't understand the concept, because even though my grandfather was this singer, the Nightingale of Iran, I didn't grow up with it. It was totally foreign to me. So actually, the opening for me was having my Persian classical music teacher say, it's like crying. And I understand what crying is. I have a lot of experience with crying, like we all do. And so, getting those sounds to come out of my body really were somehow, it opened up everything when I thought about crying. And I was thinking about that a lot when I was hearing you sing, Chana. So anyway, why is it important for me to sing these songs? I guess for me personally, it felt like it was an important part of my identity that I was missing, and a piece of me that I didn't understand. And yeah, I think that's a big piece of it, is that I just felt like I wanted to explore this part of myself, and that kind of was the opening for me. Actually, as an anthropologist, is I wanted to understand myself, and that made me want to understand other people as well.
So I'm curious about this, and maybe it's just not the right question at all, but do you feel that when you sing these songs, it's an expression of your soul, the way Chana was speaking about it, like as opposed to singing like an Ashkenazi song that you grew up with? Does it feel different when you sing these songs in terms of an expression of who you are?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that I think about it exactly. I mean, I know I don't think about it the way Chana thinks about it. Um, you know, uh, it's become really an important part of my kind of my mission. Is I feel like it's important for me to teach, especially here in North America, to bring more Sephardi Mizrahi music to mainstream Jewish spaces, because it's it doesn't really exist. And me, as half Iranian woman, was not exposed at all to Middle Eastern Jewish music. And I feel like we are a global community, and there are so many Jews from the Middle East and North Africa at almost every synagogue in the country. So we're no longer just like a German synagogue or a Polish synagogue. We've really become global communities. And for me, it's really important to explain that to different synagogues all over North America, because I think it's really important to allow a space for these voices to be heard. And so I would say that that's a big motivation for me in my work. So part of it is, I guess, political, in terms of why I do the work that I do. And these piyutim, these sacred songs that I spend so much time teaching all over, are such an important part of the richness of Sephardi Mizrahi life and their culture and identity. And of course, also in the Hasidic world, piyutim are important. But in the Sephardi Mizrahi world, they were maintained more than in most of the rest of the Ashkenazi world. They took on actually a very important spiritual role, and they were composed for different holidays. People would compose piyutim, especially in the Syrian community, for a bar mitzvah or for a new baby born. There, people would compose special piyutim, these sacred poems that are meant to be sung. That's what I'm talking about when I say piyutim. They would compose them, And when I say that they were maintained more in the Sephardi Mizrahi world, what I'm referring to is, for instance, you have these traditions like the Bakashot. And in the Bakashot, there are these traditions of piyutim that are sung between Sukkot and Pesach, and they are sung traditionally. It started during the 16th century, a time that, in a very spiritual time. The practice started in Sfat by many people who were looking for ways to connect with God spiritually, and they found that they could really connect in the dark hours with God. And so they would on Shabbat, they would sing these songs between, like, they would start at maybe like 3 a.m. and all the way up until Shacharit. Okay, so this is a tradition in many, many Sephardi Mizrahi communities, and there are, for every single week, there is a completely different repertoire of these piyutim. And then for Slichot, for instance, Slichot are these religious poems that are sung to kind of get you in the mood for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And in many Ashkenazi traditions, you have one night of Slichot, right? You have a Saturday night before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur where you sing these prayers. In most Sephardi Mizrahi communities, you sing them for an entire month, every single night. So that means you have to have a lot more Slichot.
Zoe, can you please get your stuff off the floor of the bathroom?
Yeah, that's been an amazing thing for me as I'm in Jerusalem and hearing the Salichot the whole month before.
Yeah.
Can you teach us one of these songs?
Yes. So I'm going to teach you a song. Let's see if I can bring my mountain dulcimer, which hopefully will stay in pitch. So I didn't really know my grandfather very well, the Nightingale of Iran, and I don't speak Persian, but I released an album called Monajat in 2023, and I found recordings of my grandfather singing the prayers of Slichot in Iran from the 1970s, and I created the album so that I could connect with him. So the songs are all related to the Jewish New Year on my album Monajat, but the themes of the Persian New Year, Nowruz, which comes in the spring, also really resonated with me in thinking about the Jewish New Year, because Nowruz, offers all of the promise that the new season brings for renewal, for growth, and for rebirth. And I felt that those themes were what I wanted to highlight when we, as Jews, prepare ourselves for the high holidays. So I found a beautiful poem by one of the greatest Jewish medieval poets about spring, Moshe Ibn Ezra, who lived in the Middle Ages. And the words are, you can maybe put this on the screen. This is Wine Song for Spring. The cold season has slipped away like a shadow. Its rains are already gone, its chariots and its horsemen. Now the sun in its ordained circuit is at the sign of the ram, like a king reclining on his couch. The hills have adorned themselves with turbans of flowers, and the plain has robed itself in tunics of grass and herbs. It greets our nostrils with the incense, hidden in its bosom all winter long. Give me the cup that will enthrone my joy and banish sorrow from my heart. So it seems like a very Persian poem to me, especially with the wine reference. So I connected the Jewish New Year to the Persian New Year. So this is my Jewish Nowruz song, and I hope you'll enjoy it. And it's been so cold and miserable lately, and spring is a very optimistic time because you can see the end of the dark winter. And so I'm singing this song today with the hope that we'll soon see the end of a very dark time in the world, in so many places in the world, but particularly in the US and Iran and in Israel. So here is Wine Song for Spring. Hope you like it. And the chorus, I hope you will sing along with me. The melody is, Yael, let's see. Yael, lai, 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 lai. Yael, lai, 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 Okay, so that's your part. זמן הקורקצל ברח וגשמו כבר חלף ופרשיו ורכבו זמן הקורקצל ברח וגשמו כבר חלף ופרשיו ורכבו וחל השמש בראש תלה עלי חוק תקופתו כמלך על מסיבו זמן הקורקצל ברח וגשמו כבר חלף ופרשיו ורכבו זמן הקורקצל ברח וגשמו כבר חלף ופרשיו ורכבו וחבשו מגמרות ציצים גבעות ומישור כותנות תשעו וספור זמן הקורקצל ברח וגשמו כבר חלף ופרשיו ורכבו זמן הקורקצל ברח וגשמו כבר חלף ופרשיו ורכבו ישלח אל נחירנו כתורת ימותי הסתיו הסתיו תמן 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 מחובו זמן הקורקצל ברח וגשמו כבר חלף ופרשיו ורכבו זמן הקורקצל ברח וגשמו כבר חלף ופרשיו ורכבו זמן הקורקצל ברח וגשמו כבר חלף ופרשיו ורכבו
Thank you. Wow, that was so beautiful. I'm looking at the time, and there was so much that we wanted to do tonight. I think maybe if Chana could come back in, maybe I could ask you both a question, and then we can have a couple more songs. So one thing that was so interesting to me about both of you is that you both take the songs that you heard in male voices, Galeet, that you heard from your grandfather and your father, and from these the male voices in Iran, and Chana, that you heard it from bringing in male voices, and you translate that into female voices, not only your own, but you also both have female groups that you sing with. So the question for me is, what happens when you take songs that were always in a male voice and you sing it in a female voice?
So, Chana, do you want to answer first, or do you want me to?
I think go ahead. I need to hear way more from you.
Okay, well, the reason why I'm pausing is that, I it never really occurred to me. I mean, this is I think I explained this to you a little bit, but I honestly never really thought about it. I never really actually thought about the fact that I was singing religious music that other that other women weren't singing. That I just never occurred to me because I grew up in the conservative with a capital C, the conservative movement, where my father was a cantor in a completely egalitarian environment. And so for me, it just was totally natural to go from singing sacred music in the Ashkenazi synagogue to go to and my father was the cantor, and it was totally not only accepted but encouraged. I was chanting from the Torah, in the synagogue, and I was pretty in it as a woman and as a Jew. And so it just kind of just felt so natural that when I started studying Sephardi Mizrahi music and I started studying Persian music, that I was going to then move into the other kinds of singing, into Sephardi Mizrahi Jewish singing and chanting. And when I came back from studying Persian classical music, I said to my dad, I want to learn how to chant from the Torah in the Sephardi Mizrahi. I want to learn in Persian Ta'amim, Persian trop. And he taught it to me. And, so I didn't know until actually recently, a friend of mine who is a professor, she said to me, Galeet, so do you purposely sing in like the male voice and you haven't actually heard me sing Persian classical music singing. You haven't really heard me sing anything like that. But when I sing things like traditional prayers, I hadn't noticed, but the only people that I've heard sing them are men. And so I hadn't noticed, but my voice, I'm a very high soprano, and I can sing, almost coloratura singing. But when I sing like, Hashkin leinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, when I sing that kind of singing, I didn't notice, but apparently I am taking on a more male voice and hadn't really noticed because those were the voices that I was listening to, and I was mostly listening to my dad and my grandfather sing this music.
Should I pop in? Wow, yeah, I guess this is something that is so present for me. And even the name, like the artist name, the name that I gave to the groups when we started to sing, RAZA, right? It's Aramaic for mystery, for hidden, for secret, connected to the modern Hebrew Raz. And part of it was because the sound of women singing the music that I would sing was hidden. It was a secret sound that I had never actually heard. And people would ask me, but you've never sung with, like when you were a kid, you wouldn't sing with, your friends in camp and school. And the truth is that we would sing songs, like in the pretty way, but not in a soul way. Like when I would be at Farbringen or sing with my father, it was so clear that the whole idea was that the nigun was a channel to touch the divine, inside of us and outside of us. And it wasn't about singing a song. And it almost had nothing to do with songs. And I hadn't ever had it wasn't the way it did, just like there was not really that kind of access in school and at camp for us as girls. And then when I started to explore as when more in high school and then a little bit after, singing even just by myself or with a small group of friends, we were mimicking the boys. It was so obvious, like in the tone and also our body language. It was just so particular and it was so stuck. Like there was such a stuckness about it. I hated it. I hated singing nigunim with girls, okay? Like as a kid. And and then many years passed and I was on my own little journey. And I remember the first time I was in Jerusalem and it was the end of Pesach and I was sitting with some friends, none of whom were Hasidic, none of whom had grown up with this music, but they had heard it in college or whatever. And I started singing a niggin, and one of them just like lost it. And he said, I've never heard a woman sing this. What are you doing? Like, what is this? And I'm just like, this is this niggin. Like, I'm sure you know it. And he's like, I've never heard this before, you know? And it was the first time, like, that I suddenly had this consciousness around it. And I think for me, I'm still very conscious of it because when I notice that I sound like I'm singing like the men, okay? Meaning if I'm sounding like the sound that I hear in my head, because that's the sound that I hear in my head, that's always like a flag for me to pause and to see where my soul is at. Because that's not why I'm here. Like I'm here to sing it as me, and I'm in a woman's body. And that has been a really, really extraordinary journey, especially when singing with other women. That's, I think, like my favorite. I sing with everybody, and I love that. But singing with other women and seeing the sound sort of swirl through women, and then the group of women is just, it's really something. Yeah, so.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I actually love that I can sing like my grandfather. So I rather like love that I can make those sounds and I can kind of duet with him. And it just feels like, I mean, I am a woman, so it's a very different thing having a woman, sing these words. But it wasn't really until I had other women from the Sephardi Mizrahi background come up to me and say, "Oh my God, like what are you doing? Like this is amazing," that I kind of realized that it was a thing. For me, it was just natural. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. This is so fascinating. I want to continue this conversation, but I also am looking at the time. So I want to end by thinking about the story of the sea and the people moving from slavery and from oppression to freedom, and the music accompanying them as they are moving themselves to freedom. And I want to invite both of you to sing for us a song of freedom. And as we do that, I want to think about all the people who are in great need of freedom today. I want to think about the people of Iran. I want to think about people in the United States who need freedom, people in Israel, all around the world. Our songs tonight and our learning tonight should help bring freedom and peace and redemption and healing to the world. So Galeet, do you want to start us off?
Sure. I don't have a Miriam song, but I have a Vashti song. And I wrote this song many years ago, and it was sort of a kind of a joke at first because as a kid, I'm Galeet Dardashti, and I would say for Purim I would be Vashti Dardashti. And then many years later, when I did a whole album on biblical women, and I got really deep, and Vashti was just was so like the midrash written about Vashti is amazing. And she is not the Jewish heroine, but she is bold and brave, like the women of Iran now. And so I thought this would be a good time to sing my Vashti song and to celebrate those women, and pray that they really will have freedom one day. So here's my Vashti song. I start off chanting from the Book of Esther in the Persian tradition. Vayehi bimei Achashverosh hu Achashverosh hamalech vehodu ve'adchush sheva ve'esrim umeot bedinot Vashti המלכה תתחיל מרד בשושן הבירה Vashti המלכה תתחיל מרד בשושן הבירה עם מי שבגע וחבוד מלך לעיניכם יביא אחד לרוס מלכותך לעולם כולו Vashti המלכה תתחיל מרד בשושן הבירה Vashti המלכה תתחיל מרד בשושן הבירה ותמיין המלכה ושתי לבוא בדבר המלך ויקצוף המלך מאוד בחמתו ברבה Vashti המלכה תתחיל מרד בשושן הבירה Vashti המלכה תתחיל מרד בשושן הבירה Vashti המלכה תתחיל מרד בשושן הבירה.
Oh my goodness, that's so amazing. Thank you so much, Galeet. Wow. And Chana, I'll invite you to sing for us a song of freedom.
I'm reveling. The song that came to me when you asked about this, I just started singing one, and so I'm not gonna fight about it. That sort of happens. So this is a nigun that is from the father, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, the father of the late Lubavitcher Rebbe, who I grew up with. And we would sing it on Simchat Torah, and also other times when we just needed to just erupt. obviously in Chabad tradition, there are several more sections, but in honor of time.
That was so beautiful. Thank you to you both for your beautiful teaching and your beautiful singing and really taking us someplace, to moving us through the sea, really with your teaching. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting us here and for everyone who's here. It's so different to connect with people on a screen, but like I see you and feel you. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was so wonderful connecting with all of you.
I am just so, I don't even know what to say. This really, I'm sitting here and I know that I'm going to be humming in my head and thinking about song totally differently. I would never use the word singer to describe me, but I love music and listening to it. And I think each of you, ironically, have given me the words to really understand what this experience of song is and can be. And I started thanking Sarah Beth. I cannot think about song the same again. And the context of doing this from the voices of women in particular, it is striking such, all the puns are going to come. It is striking such a chord with me in such a real and deep way. And I know I've shared this many times before, like communal prayer, tefillah b'tzibur, is something that is not my jam. And I think that each of you, in a way, has given me tools to approach that differently, especially when there is song, and to give me permission to find the melody that my soul needs, and what connects me to my history and my lineage, and like the way that song can, like, seriously, if the two of you, Galeet and Chana, if you sang that for me, I would march through the sea, I would follow you through the desert, I would go anywhere. You can feel it. And I'm so grateful. I hope that you guys can scroll through the chat afterwards, because I just had so much fun talking to everybody, listening to all of you. So thank you so much. Thank you, Aliza, for being up in the middle of the night like a crazy human. I love you, and thank you. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Dahlia. I'm gonna not put Dahlia on the spot, but speak for her because she's in the middle of I don't know what right now. But I want to invite you on behalf of Rabbanit Dahlia to come back together with us this Saturday evening, actually, after Shabbat Shira, when we read about this beautiful text that Aliza taught us about. Thank you so much for your gorgeous teaching, Aliza. We're going to have a musical Havdalah together with Rabbanit Dahlia and the very beautifully talented musical Tori Green. So come Saturday night, 9 to 9:30 Eastern, and be with us just for a half an hour for another dose of music and Havdalah together to end Shabbat and go into the week together. Please join us on Mondays for Ogen with Nama Sadan, which is a 30-minute anchoring to start the week, a workshop on cultivating resilience. Nama has a beautiful way of teaching and a little bit of a cult following. So come check it out on Monday at noon Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific time. I want to be sensitive to our amazing teachers and let you go if you need to, and if you want to go to sleep while I'm yapping. But thank you with such full hearts, really. Also, I'm going to say this before Chana leaves. If you want more time to sing with Chana and Raza, and you happen to be in the Washington, D.C. area this weekend, Chana is singing and teaching at Congregation Addis Israel. And the link to Galeet's podcast about her father, the Nightingale of Iran, I cannot recommend it enough. It's like short enough to like take it on a week of your commute, or like one really long washing dishes session, and it's amazing. I cannot recommend it enough. And there's also, she has her website where you can find the places where she is singing and access to all of her amazing music. Please go down their rabbit holes. They are gorgeous and stunning and will just take you to another place in your soul. And I cannot recommend it highly enough. I am just so thankful to all of you for being here tonight. Thank you also for all of your kavanot, the heartfelt intentions and dedications for our learning that you shared together with us. I really felt the fullness of this room and all of your hearts, and may the merit of our learning bring bring what we were all praying for tonight. So thank you for sharing that so open-heartedly.